Well, good afternoon. So we're here this afternoon to as part of our Board of Advisors meeting that we do every quarter at the Ritz-Carlton in Las Colinas, Texas. And glad to have Kevin Harrington, the original shark, here with me.
Great to be here, Jimmy. Thank you.
Absolutely, and not to mention a great friend. And I've really enjoyed getting to know you and be friends and play a lot of golf the last 7 or 8 years. So
yeah,
it's been terrific. And you're a original original advisor of Board of Advisors, right?
You know, I met Mike Calhoun back in the early, when he was just getting started. It's funny, we had a meeting at the airport, right? It was in Tampa, and he was telling me all about Board of Advisors. And I said to Mike, I've been an entrepreneur myself for about 50 years. And in the early days, I was afraid to ask for advice. I was afraid to go to mentors or advisors. And I just thought I could do it myself, but I would make lots of mistakes. And I find out afterwards, I should create some kind of advisory situation for myself, because I didn't graduate from college. I was good at knocking on doors and sales, but what about operations, finance, projections, banking, all of that kind of stuff? So I finally said, I'm going to create like a little dream team around me, experts that can provide advice, and my own board of advisors. And so that's when my business started doing much better. When I was able to say to myself, I can't do it all, I need to get some other people on the peripheral that can look at it from 10,000 feet and see what's going on, where sometimes when you're in the weeds, you get too close to it, right? So I love the concept of Board of Advisors. When Mike told me that's kind of, we're going to get, lots of entrepreneurs together, and they're going to have advisors that are members of Board of Advisors who are there to help and give input and knowledge and also get some advice themselves at the same time, right? Because
sure,
everyone's looking for things to go both ways. So
right.
I think it's an awesome business. And I mean, the growth that Mike has had since I was there, it's thousands of percent times what he started with. And it's been a tremendous buzz in the entrepreneurial community, and an awesome execution. And I think when I heard that you were going to be joining Jimmy, Mike rather, in some kind of in a partnership fashion, and taking an active role in being the guy to help Mike take his company to the next level, I said, this makes total sense for the whole company, and you guys are making it happen right now. And I'm glad to be here today.
That's awesome. We're glad to have you, and we're having a lot of fun with it. We just after I sold my company in January, in a big company environment with lots of uncontrollable things that happen in big companies, it's so nice to be here where everybody wants to win, and that's that's the psyche that's going on in this room, where we've got chaos going on, we've got a lot of deals going on, we've got a lot of pitches going on, and we've got that, but it's all positive.
And it's kind of like we're all on the same team,
right? Yeah, it makes it a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So we'll maybe circle back around to that in a few minutes, because I'll probably ask you like some of the best networking situations that you've had. But let's take it through a little bit, so we get the timeline of your accomplishments, which have been many over the years. And so did your I know you had an air conditioner company, and you started. You're a grassroots,
right,
in the guts of the thing, running a company, knocking on doors and trying to get. I remember you told how the condition you found one of your technicians in one day, and I think that's when you decided you were thinking white collar all the way from then on, right? So you want to tell a little bit about that, and then just kind of get through the highlights. I mean, you got so many of them.
Yeah.
The batteries all go dead in here if we talk about all of them. But.
So I grew up in, my mother's father, my grandfather, was a president of Fifth Third Bank back in Cincinnati, Ohio, when there was only one bank and one Fifth Third. And so she came out of banking, and then she married my father, who was in the bar business. And the bar business isn't as stable as banking, probably, right? So
maybe
it depends. But So they lived, we moved into a nice neighborhood that they could barely afford because of my father's income. But one of my schoolmates, his father was the CEO of Kroger's, and another one, his father owned the Cincinnati Reds. And so it's like, then here I am, and these are kids, they're going all over the world for vacations and flying in jets. And I'm like, I don't have that, but I wanted to have that, so I said, I got to earn it. So when I was 15, I started knocking on doors, because my buddy had got a brand new sports car for his 16th birthday. Well, I wasn't getting one on my 16th birthday unless I paid for it. And so I started saving when I was 15, knocking on doors, sealing driveways. And I paid cash for my sports car when I was 16 years old. And then I built a heating and air conditioning company, and I say customer acquisition, because what I did with the heating and air conditioning business, unlike driveway sealing, I could just knock on a door. Heating and air, I went after new homeowner transactions. If you just bought a new house, my company called you and offered to clean your furnace for free so we could establish a relationship, and then if you needed anything, you would come to us, and it worked. And so that business we took and grew tremendously into the millions of dollars a year in business. This is back in the 70s. So I finally sold that business for various reasons. It wasn't what I wanted to do the rest of my life, but I'm sitting there, and I'm watching cable television. I just ordered, and the channel I was watching was Discovery Channel, and all of a sudden it went dark. And I'm like, what's going on? It's not coming back on. It was dark for 6 hours with these bars on the screen. And this is in 1980. I called the cable company, and I said, hey, I'm not getting all the channels. I said, there's something wrong with this channel 30, Discovery. And they said, oh, well, you're tuned in during their downtime. It's only an 18-hour-a-day channel. They don't have a budget for 24 hours. So I said, so in other words, there's 6 hours a day of nothing? And they said, exactly. And I said, well, maybe I can put something in there that might make some money. So I went down, cut a deal, and I started programming that 6-hour block with products. And that was back in the early 80s. And of course, it's like, where do you get the products? I stumbled into a very powerful situation. I'm at the Philadelphia Home Show, and there's a pitchman demonstrating the Ginsu knife. And then that was Arnold Morris. And Billy Mays was demonstrating a cleaning product called OxyClean. And another lady was doing a handheld blender called the Daily Mixer. And all these people had these pitches perfected. I said, if I just turn the camera on, put them on this downtime, I wonder if people will buy. And they bought, because we did billions of dollars in sales as time went forward. So we knew we were onto something, and that was the birth of the infomercial industry. And so I was one of, nobody else has ever said I was doing it before that, Kevin. So sometimes people will call me the inventor of the infomercial. It is what it is. I just know I was doing them way back, and when it first started, and it was a lot of fun. But we broke every record and category, and we were doing fitness with Tony Little, and we were doing kitchen with George Foreman, and we were doing pain relief with Frankie Avalon, and Suzanne Summers, and then the Kardashians, lip plumpers with Paris Hilton. So we did over 1,000 products over the next number of years, and that really was my life in the infomercial. And also I owned AsSeenOnTV.com and As Seen on TV Inc. So we were the As Seen on TV guys also.
That's fantastic. What's so great about that story, and I know how you can relate to a lot of our board of advisor members down here, is there's so many stories down there that
Yes.
that started from scraps and went to riches, and usually somewhere in the middle of that there was a disaster.
Oh, yeah.
Or two or three. And
Yeah.
and so did you ever really have a disaster, or did it always kind of work out because you were taking your time with
Yeah.
the things, although you don't take your time with much of anything.
Right. We
you
were pretty quick to market.
Yeah, you walk down the fairway and I run trying to catch up with you. So.
We did have disasters, plenty. I'll never forget, we were ordering these hand-hammered Chinese woks from China, and we had all these orders, and we were back ordered, and people were complaining that they hadn't gotten their wok. And as they came in, we had the boat, the people that had shipped them put them on top of the boat, so the spray from the ocean had rusted all of them. The boxes were wet, the walks were rusted, and we had 40,000 customers just yelling and screaming like you wouldn't believe. So we ended up getting through that one. But we also had merchant account issues over the years. I mean, we went from zero to $8, $9, $10 million a month in sales. And I'll never forget the day the bank came and they said, we've just processed about $40 million worth of business for you, and you haven't shipped about half of that yet, and we're wondering when you're going to ship, because we were waiting for the product to come in, right? And so they had a contingent liability, but they couldn't afford to shut us down because then we'd be out of business and couldn't pay them. But we ended up getting through that situation also. But entrepreneurship, there's always banking issues, always operational issues. So we learned quite a few things over the years. In the hard way in many cases.
Yeah, well, that'll resonate so well, with our board of advisor members, because if I think probably if any of them say, no, I never had a glitch in my plan over the last 20 or 30 years.
Yeah, they're not pressing it hard
Yeah, you
enough.
probably don't want to let them borrow your wallet, because I don't think that's the case.
Right.
It just happens, and that's part of of being a successful entrepreneur. Is you got to get through the tough times. It's easier to do the easy times, frankly.
Yeah.
The successful times without the problems. The grit of an entrepreneur is really being able to fight through those situations and get out the other side when it seems impossible.
My wife always says I'm the best when the pressure is on.
Yep.
And so that's that for me. It gives me an extreme focus, and when something is, when the going gets tough, the tough get going, so to speak. Right?
Exactly.
So
exactly.
Me.
That's great, and I just love the way that resonates around this building where we've got all our members buzzing around, making deals and talking about helping each other and all of that.
Absolutely.
And that's why you relate so well to them. You can walk up and strike up a conversation with any of the 150 people down the hall, and you know exactly what they're talking about, and they know what you're talking about.
We've been through many of the things that they're experiencing as we speak.
Yeah, as have I. Yeah, for sure. So now, then you had a really successful book called Act Now that you wrote?
Yeah.
And now, was that before Shark Tank, after Shark Tank, or how did Shark Tank fit in there?
It was just before, and so it's interesting. I had a meeting with Richard Branson. And Richard, it was to get a little mentoring, because I went down to Necker Island where he lived and hung out with him for a couple days. And Richard said, Kevin, he said, I want to give you some advice, because he was like an advisor. This is what he was providing, is just like the board of advisors has folks that come in like that. And so he said, you've done an awesome job building your business, but you built that Tony Little Guy's brand, you built Billy May's brand, you helped build Jack LaLanne's brand, but you forgot about somebody, Kevin Harrington, yourself. And I said, you're right. Do I need to build my brand, Richard? And he's like, well, look, he said, did I need to build mine? But I'm now a famous entrepreneur, and I do videos of me in hot air balloons, and I write books, and I'm like, books, is that something I should do? He said, you need to write a book. He said, we put a game plan together, go home, get an author, write a book, and that was Act Now, How I Turn Ideas into $1 Million Products, because this is the funniest, craziest thing. I would speak on stage somewhere, and somebody would come to me afterwards, and they'd say, you mentioned that product, and I had that idea 10 years ago. And I said, what are you saying? He said, well, I had the idea before you. I said, are you bragging because you had the idea, but I made all the money and you did nothing? I said, I'm sorry, but you didn't, you just sat on the idea. I acted upon the idea. You should have acted then, which is act now, okay? So that's what I said. People, they procrastinate. I'll do it next year. I'm not ready. I don't have the money. I don't have the know-how. Well, guess what? Maybe you can partner with somebody too, okay?
Sure.
Because we do that all the time. But the bottom line is that's what the book had a formula also. And I have a 10-step formula that I look for, kind of like a checklist. That when I'm looking at products, there's certain things. Is there some kind of a magical transformation with the product? Okay, and I could go through many more. Is it multifunctional? Does it do more than one thing? Because somebody would ask me about a product that they had, and then I'd see somebody else knocking it off, adding a function to it. So this was all part of the Act Now book, which was, now's the time, and don't wait. If you need help, get a partner, get an advisor, which really plays right back into why we're here right now. The board of advisors is helping entrepreneurs by getting advisors that have been there and done that and are ready to go. So yeah, the book became an international bestseller, and I thank Richard Branson for pushing me to do it, but this is what happened. I was out promoting the book on radio shows and doing interviews and this and that, and I'd done over 100 radio shows. Some big network got on a couple TV shows, lots of press, trades, the Hardware Times and the Homeworld magazine and the fitness this and that, and all of a sudden I get a phone call. It was actually it was a tap on the shoulder from a girl at a conference. Said, "I work for Mark Burnett. He wants to talk to you about his new show that he's doing called Shark Tank." And this was back in 2008. When I got that tap on my shoulder, I was at the Chicago Houseware Show, tap on the shoulder, and I said, what is it? What's Shark Tank? She says, "I can't tell you." So I get on with Mark. He says, "Look," he says, "it's a TV show. It's a new show." And I said, you got to come out and talk to me. So I got off the phone. I told my wife, I said, "Honey, you won't believe it, but I was just on with Mark Burnett. He invited me to come see him about his new show." And she said, "What's it all about?" I said, "He won't tell me on the phone." She says, "But isn't he the guy that does that Survivor show and does all that crazy things to people?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She said, "Well, what's he going to do to you on Shark Tank?" I'm like, good point. I'm thinking I'm going to get thrown in a Shark Tank. Yeah. And actually, the pilot that we shot, as they walked down the path to come to the sharks, live sharks in all those tanks.
Right.
And yeah, but it was so expensive is that they said, "We can't," I mean, these were big jumbo sharks. And they said, they're swimming back and forth. "We can't afford to do that for every single show." So it was in the pilot, but it never made the cut after that. But I ended up getting on Shark Tank because Mark Burnett said, "This Kevin guy's out promoting this book. He's taking pictures at the hardware show, the houseware show, the fitness show, all these different shows. Let's talk to him." So I went out and met with him, and the rest is history.
Well, that's interesting. So you go to your interview, so to speak, and you don't know if you're going on a life endangering expedition or where you're going because of his history. So
people said, they'd see me in the street after the show was on the air, and they said, "Are you on some kind of a fishing show or something? Someone keeps talking about there's some sharks and that you're out fishing with or something." I'm like, "No, it's a business show." Okay, so how is Shark Tank a business show?
Well, you've never been in business if you're asking me that, right?
Exactly. Here we are 17 years later, by the way.
Right.
That show has been on the air 17 years.
Yeah.
And I've been running in that show for the last 17 years now.
That's so cool. I love that story.
Yeah, thank you.
It's really cool. And it brings up something that's so dear to my heart, and that's why I'm so thrilled to be the new CEO at Board of Advisors, because it's something that I've always believed in, and obviously you've always believed in it because you're at a convention when that happens.
Yes.
And things don't happen unless you're out there.
Right.
And the things that you don't want to go to, and my wife's my biggest encouragement always, because I always have preached to her, I need to go to this thing. I don't know exactly why, but I think it's important.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, something usually happens. Now, the last couple of years, I've said, "Man, I'm really tired. I've been in 4 cities in 4 days, and I'm, but I'm supposed to be in Miami tomorrow." And she said, "Well, go to Miami. You always told me you've got to go there. You got to be where the things are happening."
Right.
And that's a great lesson, I think, for young entrepreneurs to say, Zoom's great and phone calls are fine and all of that, but belly to belly, face to face conversations, cocktail hours, breakfasts, meetings, listening to people like you.
Yeah.
That's where the rubber meets the road, and that's where deals happen. That's where relationships evolve. So.
I mean, in the old days, my wife, she would say, where are you going this week? I said, well, this week is the automotive show in Las Vegas. She said, well, last week you were at the hardware show in Chicago, and the week before you were at the fitness show in New York, and then you did the beauty show over in Milan. That wasn't so bad, by the way. Okay, and she's like, but
I assume she went with you to that one.
She went to quite a few of the shows. Yeah, she loved. She went to all of the domestic ones. The international travel was a little tougher at the time, but bottom line is that that is what I did exactly what you're talking about, Jimmy, is get out there, press the flesh. I didn't take booths out, but I hit those shows, made contacts. Like when I went to the houseware show. Where did I start? The media section. They have their own private rooms and meeting rooms to interview people. So I went and met the publisher of Homeworld magazine. This is 30-some years ago. And he's like, Kevin, great to meet you. And if you ever have any products you want me to feature or talk about or this or that. So I had a great connection. I said, and by the way, you're here at the show. Are there any hot new products that I should take a look at while I'm here this show? Oh, hey, you got to go check out this new electronic fryer that's on, over an aisle number, boom, 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 boom. And so now I'm setting up my network to get connected to find the hottest, newest products. That's in the houseware industry, but we did this in every industry, so we were connecting ourselves to the right people to be able to get opportunities presented to us along the way.
It's just, you have to be there. That's why I'm so impassioned with the board of advisors, because I watch it down here every day of these meetings, and I watch it on every Wednesday, all member call that focuses on specific issues, and watch these people meet, and then they come here, and you watch these relationships blossom, and the idea generation that's going on, and the days, they start at 7:30 and they end at midnight usually, but it's exhilarating because you're watching these people create businesses, create partnerships. I'm a big strategic alliance partnership guy. I believe in, that's how you force multiply. If you try to do everything by yourself, you'll be successful, but you can be wildly successful if you trust and bring partners and alliances in. I know you do the same thing.
Agree with that 100%. Yeah.
So that's what goes on down here, and that's why I'm so thrilled to be here and be part of it, because we're watching it grow. If you can, when we speak of board of advisors, do you have a specific? I guess you probably just told it with the Chicago convention and how the Shark Tank thing started, but any other thoughts that come to your mind of how being in the right place at the right time with the right people really just worked out well for you?
Yeah. I had a library of 100 plus infomercials, and this was 1990. So I'd been doing it for a few years, since the early 80s. And I had invested in the production of the infomercial, the tooling of the product, so the inventory. So we would produce a show, run the show, buy the media, ship the product, manufacture the product, and guarantee it, and if it was defective, we'd give them their money back and send them a new one. And so I had done that 100 plus times, and then I thought to myself, I was sitting at a meeting with a bunch of television executives, and they were talking about this show that they go to, the Cannes Film Festival over in France, Cannes, France, and some call it Cannes, but and there's also a TV side of it called MIPCOM, where all the TV stations in the world go once a year. Hey, what could be so bad? In the south of France, right? And right near Saint-Tropez and Monte Carlo and all of that, right? So they said, Kevin, you have a library of 100 shows in English? Well, you go over to the Cannes Film Festival and you can license them and partner those in 150 countries with distributors and or TV stations that are in all the countries around the world. England and Germany and Holland and France, that's in all of Europe, 16 countries there. All of the Middle East, there's a sheikh that owns 5 channels a day in 20 Arabic countries. And then you've got Latin America, then you've got Asia. And I said, I got to go to this show. And I did. And we took our library of shows. And I thought, so I had a fitness show with a guy named Tony Little, fitness guy. I said, do I need to find a Tony Little in Japan? No. We dub it into Japanese for $1,000. We take the existing show, dub it for $1,000, run it in Japan, and it would generate revenues like it did in the United States. Same thing they do with movies. So what I'm saying, Jimmy, is being at the right place at the right time. It's if you're not out there, you're not in any place. So you can't be in the right place if you're home. Okay, so get out there, and you might be in the right place, and it might be the right time. And for me, it happened that was the right place at the right time. I went international with my infomercials in 1990, opened office in London, in Sao Paulo, Brazil, in Tokyo, Japan, and Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. And we went from $100 million a year to $500 million a year, because we were running all our infomercials all over the world. And that was a game changer. We went public on the New York Stock Exchange, and its company, the stock went from $1 a share to $20+ a share. So,
but that wouldn't have happened had you not gone to an event.
It was a TV conference, actually.
But you didn't know you were going there to get this international distribution.
It was called NATPE in New Orleans, the National Association of Television Producing Executives. NATPE was the TV conference. And everyone's there. Kevin, you're in the television. You think you're in the infomercial industry? You're in the television industry. And now you can take those shows and license them, partner with television stations in every country in the world.
Right, but my point is, when you went there that
no
Monday morning, you didn't know why you were going necessarily.
No.
You certainly didn't have that specific outcome in mind.
I had no idea.
So if you wouldn't have been there, it wouldn't have happened.
Exactly.
And that's I think I just heard a $400 million gain pretty quick there.
There
right?
you go. Yeah, public company. I love being involved in public companies. I've had north of 10 that I've been involved with over the years. And we've had some pretty good successes.
Yeah, that lemonade company or whatever it was, that worked out pretty good, didn't it?
We did have a good run there. By the way, that company we started, literally it was a 10-cent stock. And it was not even doing millions, not even doing $1 million in sales.
Story.
It's a $15 billion public company now, from literally from zero.
You can say their name.
Celsius.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Get rid of my. They can edit my lemonade comment.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, that's just me rubbing you. But so that's just awesome. Great. Those are great stories. And I know there's something that's really passionate in your heart that Board of Advisors actually has helped promote and participated in your annual charity golf tournament, which was a phenomenal experience at your country club Pelican. That was just phenomenal. It's just I played in a lot of golf tournaments, including pro-ams, and I mean that was done as well or better than anything I've ever been at. So that was terrific. But why don't you tell us a little bit about the foundation and how people might be able to help? It's a wonderful cause, and it's a cause that's really dear to my heart because I think we're going to need a lot more entrepreneurs in the very near future.
Yes.
Because there's not going to be a lot of other things to do. So,
thanks, Jimmy. I appreciate it. And over the years, I've had a few exits. I mentioned some public companies, and and obviously, not everything, as I mentioned, has always been on the straight and right to the top. You get some ups and downs along the way, but overall, I've had a great run over the years. And I said, I grew up, my mother was very religious, and I was an altar boy when I went through school, and I said, you got to help other people that are less fortunate, and when I was building my businesses along the way, I started a nonprofit that we called the Entrepreneurs Organization. It's EO, and it was called YEO, the Young Entrepreneurs Organization, and that was actually in 1987. Michael Dell, Ted Leonsis, who owns the Washington Capitals and Wizards, and myself and a couple other guys. It was giving back to the entrepreneurial community, and that took off and is now the largest entrepreneurial organization in the world. the members represent over $10 billion in sales, and they're in 150 cities, 45 countries. EO is helping entrepreneurs, and so, but that grew so big and powerful, and I'm like now off the board and not as involved. I said, how can I help entrepreneurs in my backyard? I live in Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater, Florida, and so I said, I went and I said, I want to help young entrepreneurs, and we're also in, there's a very powerful military operation in Tampa called MacDill Air Force Base,
Sure.
And they were bringing me out to meet with some of the retired military, and I said, you know what? There's two sides here. Young entrepreneurs that need help. So I got involved with Junior Achievement, and I now have opened the Kevin Harrington Entrepreneurship Hub at Junior Achievement in Tampa, Florida, and 27,000 high school students have gone through that hub for entrepreneurship training, which I feel very proud of, that we could put the Kevin Harrington training program, and it's a starter program, but then others will want to come back. But and then simultaneous to helping the youth of America and Junior Achievement, we also are involved with the military. My foundation is. So it's a 501c3, and we've donated a lot of money to the golf tournament. We had 100 golfers, 30 sponsors, raised a lot of money for both the military as well as Junior Achievement, and continue to do that. And it's my way of giving back. I mean, the world has been good to me, and I love being involved in business deals. It's kind of like something that I have fun doing right here at Board of Advisors. I feel like I'm giving back to the entrepreneurial community by coming
Absolutely.
here and helping entrepreneurs. And it's what's funny, I'll sit and listen to somebody here and they're telling some inside secrets about their business.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying to myself, now I do the same thing, but someone will say to me, Kevin, why did you give all that information? It's a little bit confidential maybe, but that's what we do as advisors. We got to help. You got to open, kind of turn the pages and open the kimono a little bit and show what is available to some of these folks, and I like to do that. So this is what I'm doing now for Junior Achievement, young entrepreneurs, and I actually did a tour across the city of Tampa, taking pitches at area high schools and enjoying that.
That's cool.
Tremendously.
Yeah.
So
I bet you were stunned with a few of them, weren't you?
There's some great ideas that the kids come up with, and of course some of them are not even, it's like, well, you do this and this very simplistically, but it's like, well, wait a minute, it's like one guy said he wants to launch it, and he says, look, my app will have every movie and every TV show ever made on it, and you can go there for free. And I'm like, well, but that's not a business, okay? And by the way, you're not going to.
That's a service.
They're owned by everybody in the process. I think that's not a doable business, okay? It's like, so sometimes they've got such pie in the sky. It's like, wouldn't it be nice if you could have one place to go for everything, right? Well, it would be, but there's people own that content, okay? And
but also the neat thing about that, if you think about it and you listen to all the stuff going on down here in the big ballroom, is that if some of the cool things that the kids say are because they don't know they can't, right? They don't know about liabilities. They don't know about trademarks and patents and all that, and if they're and
rights issues, right?
Right, and all that stuff. So I mean, their thinking is so pure. It's is this something people want?
And sometimes they come up with a pure idea.
Exactly.
It blows you away.
Yeah, and that's and then you can go find experts that can tell you why you can't, but let your mind go crazy.
I mean, we had St. Pete High School. I went to not long ago. Took 18 pitches in the gymnasium, and something very simple was a winner, but it was because some people have things that are going to take hundreds of millions of dollars to build. The high school students got this idea. Oh, that's going to take hundreds of millions, okay? But this guy had something that he's doing after school and making money already, and I'm like, that's the winner here, because he's not only come up with the idea, executed it and is now in business with cash flow.
He knows what cash flow is.
And I said, that's my number one product out of this whole bunch right here. And he won.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. So the Kevin Harrington Foundation, how can our great members that are down the hall, how can they help, or how can anybody help? Is it money, or is there any?
Well,
are there any?
Look, we need help. We've got more. We'll have another golf tournament coming up later in the year, and we're having other events, and so if sometimes we just need connections. We need people to help. Like putting on a golf tournament takes a lot of people, lots of help and lots of helpers and things like that. So if anybody there's the Kevin Harrington Foundation, I believe is .com is the website, and then or kevinharrington.tv. You can also get information there about the foundation. There's a click there you can make. So, but anybody that's interested in helping out, love to have them. Give us a shout.
Great. Well, when we're down here, I know tomorrow you and I are going to be on a panel, and we're going to have a lot of our members sort of pitching. We're going to have a couple other great ones. I know Carrie Charles is going to be on there. I think maybe Stan Padgett is, but it's going to be really a lot of experience on the panel that's sitting there, and we're going to have some of the newer entrepreneurs and some of the folks that have been with us for a long time just kind of come up and tell us about their ideas and let us give feedback to them. Which I don't know that you can even buy that service anywhere, but because we're going to have such a diverse response to them. So I
love doing that, by the way. It's my sweet spot.
Of course.
Taking pitches.
Of course. So when you're down there tomorrow, make sure that they hear about the Kevin Harrington Foundation, because there's so many giving people down there too.
Yes.
I mean,
thank you.
We've got just
Maybe we can put a little something special together.
You've got Jed Morley at Platt Pay. That's the best merchant service in the company. You've got shouldn't have even started, because I can go on and on and on with the super people that are down there.
Right.
So let's make sure that you get that shout out for the Kevin Harrington Foundation.
Awesome.
But so I guess let's close it off with, how are we going to monetize the fact that 970 times out of 1,000 you can hit a low cut? There's got to be a way to can that, because everybody wishes they could do it with that confidence. So the only time that I remember that you didn't do that, if you recall, we're playing the Pelican,
right? And
you taught me the lone wolf game, except the problem is I was the lone wolf,
right?
And I took the 6 handicapper for a hole and the 8 handicapper for a hole, and we got to 18, which requires a low cut,
right,
on the approach shot.
Yeah.
And that was one of the 10% or one of the 1%ers that you hooked.
It ended up in the water.
It cut too much.
Cut too
much.
Yeah. But you saved the day. I think you had a putt that saved us for more than $1,000 or something.
It did.
Golf is fun, but you got to have a little juice in the game,
Yeah, the lesson there is I learned a lesson that day, because I learned if you actually pay attention to the putt, it works out a lot better. And I paid a lot of attention to that one. So.
When there's that kind of money involved, it's a good thing to do, right?
So I learned that if I ever really need to make one, I have a chance at it if you don't just get up there and slap it and hope for a 2-putt.
Yeah.
So,
well, Jimmy, it's been fun hanging out with you, and I just want to wish you good luck now as in your new partnership with Mike Calhoun, your new position, new CEO, and congratulations. It's a great organization, and I've been involved from day one. I know you've been involved way back from the beginning also, and it's good to see somebody like yourself jump in and make it happen as taking a financial position in the company and taking a partnership role. So thank you so much.
Thanks. I'm thrilled about it, and great to have you involved as well, obviously. So
thank you.
Good deal. Thanks, Kev.